I need to make a shirt that says potato saved my life. Like, guys, prepping, self-reliance, there's so many ways to go around it. When we say self-reliance, I think that's a misnomer. Like, it's saying, hey, I can save myself.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. It's relying on the Lord, but also trusting yourself to rely on the Lord. Trusting yourself that you're taking the right steps. And historically, they've always been the right steps. We've just recently, as a society, forgotten the steps.
Mm-hmm.
And we've gotten away from that. And so we've got to go back to that, because that's, as Shane says, look to the past to prepare for the future. And we can take those things that the past did very well and apply them to our day, and it'll help us up a rung higher in our current situation.
Self-sufficiency is kind of like anti-entitlement, right? I mean, it's like you say, you can't truly be self-sufficient, or you can't truly be self-reliant, but you can aim for it, and you can do your best to get there. But I know you're a big community guy, Scott. We need to rely on community. I tend to be a little more solitary, but
yeah, you got like 80 kids, so you've got a community of your own.
Yeah, five.
Seems like 80,
but I got
They're
seven, 6 other brothers and sisters. So yeah, we have community, and that's my plan for community. But one thing that came up in my mind when you were talking is, if you guys aren't following Ice Age Farmer, you should. Do you guys know? Are you familiar with Ice Age Farmer? You guys, Scott?
I'm not.
I'm not.
Go watch Ice Age Farmer. He is fantastic. He tells what is happening with the food supply system right now all over the world. One thing he brought up recently that I've been seeing, and it's kind of peripheral, is that these large companies are saying, oh, you know what? Oh, you can't save your own seeds. No, that's dangerous. You have to buy your seeds from an approved supplier, right? It's all mind control. It's propaganda. So they're trying to control everything, including food production, seeds, all that. So no, grow your own garden, keep your seeds for the next year. It has been proven that once you harvest your seeds from the previous crop, those seeds are learning about that soil. And the next time you plant it, they will do better. And those seeds have learned more from that soil in those growing conditions, whether it's dry or whether it's overly wet or whatever. And then you keep doing that crop keeps continuing to get better. And that's been proven. And really Christian cool over there at Ice Age Farmer talks all about that. So follow him. He's fantastic.
Shane, can you throw that up on our Facebook page?
Yeah, I'll do that
in our group and make sure we share that. That's a huge, that's awesome. I'm going to go subscribe to that and start watching that.
Ice Age Farmer. Yep.
I think that's, as we look back and we start understanding the things that we can do, and it just helps us get through the things that are coming. Like, we've talked about cyber attacks. We've talked about issues with the grid. I mean, we're going to have supply chain problems. They're announcing it all over the world. Oh, we're going to have a run on food. Klaus Schwab, World Economic Forum, One World Government Focus. Like, he's trying, they want to disrupt supply chain. They've intentionally hurt it over the last few years, last decades, right? They've intentionally hurt our financial system. They're intentionally hurting all these things that we rely on just to get by.
Yeah, here's another thing that has been in the news in the alternative media lately is bird flu, right? There is a bird flu going all over the U.S. It hasn't quite got to the West here, but it's all through the Midwest. They're killing millions and millions of chickens and turkeys, I assume, as well, because they have this bird flu. But the thing is, they're using the same test they test for COVID that is a false test that does not work, is not accurate. The PCR test, they're using that same test to test these chickens and say, oh, they're sick. We gotta destroy them. So again, it's intentional. So it's nefarious. I like that word. That word works for me. And so
it fits.
It does. It fits perfectly. So get your house in order. Get your food in order. Like you're saying, potatoes are fantastic. You've got to look into how to store them, how to grow them, because you think that you've got to last through the winter, right? Got to learn how to can, how to bottle. Admittedly, I'm not very good at any of that stuff. Give me a freeze dryer, right? Or just a dehydrator, right? That's easy to do, right? But the way our ancestors did the canning and the bottling and all that, that's an art that needs to be learned. And like you're saying, Scott, is planting potatoes, I tried that for a couple of years, didn't have great success. So it takes practice, and you got to get doing it now. You know, it's not like say, okay, it's an emergency, we better get started. Got to start before the emergency. Yeah.
And there's so many resources you can find right now that'll help us with those things. We need to find them. If it's a YouTube video you like and you find it, download it, save it to your other hard drive, get it off your computer, right? Bookmark it for on your computer, but get it off your computer. So, you know, you've got a backup and it doesn't have to be connected to the network. So if things do go wonky, you've got those resources. And if it's printable, print them and put it in your binder. Like everyone should have a binder or multiple binders. Like I've got a gardening binder. I've got my preps binder. I've got my binder that has my entire, what would you call it?
Personal documents in there.
Well, that's not a binder. That's just a folder, and also on a little card. But then my storehouse, like everything, my wife is so good at tracking everything. Thank you. My inventory control. I have an inventory control binder. And I tell you, if I forget to mark off that something got moved from the basement to the pantry or the pantry to the table, like if I forgot, I get scolded. I don't like to get scolded. So I'm getting really good at marking off things. Oh, can of refried beans gone. Oh, bag of brown sugar removed. And you know what? I actually helped. Yes. Well, today I realized. So the other day I was baking breadsticks and I was trying different recipes and I needed brown sugar. And I'm like, brown sugar's gone. Where's the brown sugar? My wife's like, well, it's in the pantry. And I'm thinking downstairs, not the pantry. And so I'm like looking around everywhere, didn't find it in the pantry because I didn't look in the pantry. I go downstairs and I get it. And I bring it up. And then today I'm like, I didn't do a good thing. This just illustrates how dumb I am sometimes. But I'm like in the pantry today and I'm like, hey, babe, here's brown sugar in the pantry. She's like, yeah, I told you that's where it was in the mall. Oh, yeah, I'm an idiot. Like, but we have it and she keeps track of it. And it's amazing. And we wouldn't have it had we not prepared 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago. Like we're using stuff that's 6 years old a lot of times. And it's perfectly fine. And you can store things for much, much longer with some oxygen absorbers and some, oxygen sealed bags. Like there's so many different things you can do. We just have to start doing them. And they're not expensive. They're not. We're kidding ourselves by saying they are. We're just prioritizing the wrong things in front of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now I know we're running up against our, we try to stay under. I think we could go on for another hour if we keep going at this pace too.
We need to do a super show. Just
we
10
do.
hours.
Might as well. But another thing that came to mind is we didn't really talk much about solutions for grid down, right? For having some power when the grid goes down. If you don't mind, I'll just hit a few of those things real quick here. Kind of going out of sequence here, but we talk about generators, gas generators, talk about solar power, wind power, those types of things. Again, I lean toward what I've been saying, look to the past, right? Try and change your life now so that you can do without a lot of power. Because, to power your big screen TV and electric heaters, all those types of things, it's not practical. It's way too expensive. So first of all, change how you live now so that you can get along with very little power. And then it can become very easy to power those things you need, like a radio, a TV for, those type of communication devices, be able to charge your phones, your flashlights, have rechargeable flashlights, have rechargeable devices that you can recharge from a solar bank. They call them solar generators. They're not solar generators. I hate that. The solar panel combined with the power box, whatever you want to call it, the battery, the battery where you store your energy. Battery bank, yeah, that's the word I was looking for. That you can maybe call a generator, but it's a silent generator. Anyway, it's a beef of mine.
Is the sun.
The generator's
the sun.
Absolutely,
we all have that. What we all need
is capture it,
energy collectors or
and
captures.
Store it exactly,
and storage devices. And it's funny because one of the websites I was looking at today actually called it all those things correctly, and another one said you need to get a generator. Here's the generator. And I'm like, That's not a generator.
A generator is
doesn't-
a gas generator that you put gas into, put fuel into it. The engine turns. It creates an electrical field that you can run other devices with. That's a generator. You're generating an electrical field. It doesn't store it. A gas generator will not store anything, right? It has to be running.
Correct.
Where you can use that to power a battery bank. Like I like the Goal Zero stuff. There's a lot of great brands out there. And so I have a couple of the Goal Zero battery banks, using the proper terms, to store some electricity, store some energy. I've got solar panels to charge that with. I've got a generator to temporarily run the refrigerator so we can eat that before I run out of gas, right? That's not a long-term storage thing. So there are things you can do to help prepare yourself on the short term. Long-term, definitely solar, wind power, that's long-term. That's a much more complicated topic, but there are little things you can do just by having rechargeable flashlights. You got your phone rechargeable that you can recharge during the day and use it at night. So simple things that we can get into really lots of detail at a later date.
Yeah. And like you can start, like solar stuff is expensive. Mm-hmm. If you get like a dual generator, like I've got a dual generator where it takes propane and it takes gas, and I can run it off either one. If I'm going to store gas, I need to put an additive into that to make sure it stays good. It's called stable, right? Otherwise it's going to go bad and it'll get sludgy at the bottom, and then water, like natural propane doesn't do that. So I've got all these propane tanks, right? You got to have somewhere to store it, but I've got all that taken care of for like $600. And that wasn't that much to invest into that. If I want to get the solar stuff that I'm looking at, it's like $4,000 minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So get what you can now. If you can't get something big, if you can spend $1,000 to get a solar solution, know that, okay, when things go sideways, when power's gone, we use that to run the fridge for a little while, and break out the sun oven or a camp stove and burn and use other fuels to cook your food. So you're not using a microwave, because a microwave will just zap the battery so fast, right? Mm-hmm. Use the things that won't take up your precious power, and hurry and eat all the stuff in your food in your fridge, and leave the pantry alone for a few days.
Absolutely. You gotta prioritize of what's your most important power use. And at night it's going to be lights, right? Especially if you have got kids, right? It's for communications, right? You can't plan on running your refrigerator, right? You can't plan on running your air conditioning, unless you just got a lot of money and you can put it into a system. But like you're saying, Scott, there's great balance in saying, I'm going to pick a small power bank with an appropriate solar panel, and then I'm going to have a small gas generator that I can run my fridge for a couple of days with 20 gallons of gas sitting there. And after your fridge is used, you move, you've got your battery bank that you can charge up every day for a longer term emergency, and have the minimal power that you need. But like you're saying, you got to have propane for heat. You got to have wood. You got to have lots of different ways to cook and to heat. But there is a lot of balance in that can be done very, very intelligently, and not spend a whole lot of money on that, and instead of overdoing it with a big solar generator or a big gas generator or anything like that. So anyway, so that's what I wanted to chime in on that grid down solutions there.
Now you could even go in and partner in on a bigger system if you needed to, or you can. I have one of those smaller ones that folds open, folds out, and it can charge my laptop in a couple hours in the sun. Yep. So there's
if you have
things like that you can do easily, and that one's only like $150. So that's not that bad.
And if you have solar on your house, which I know a lot of people do, you can integrate a battery bank into that and a different type of inverter. Where right now you probably only have a grid tie inverter, and that's still going to be a pretty significant investment, but you already got the panels up there. Might as well have some batteries to complement it, and you got a great source of power.
One of the cool things about most of the battery banks that they have now is you can plug them into the wall and charge them, right? So if you've got solar on your house, you can just plug it right into the wall and it'll charge off the solar, or it'll charge off the grid. And then if the grid's gone and your solar is still charging your house during the middle of the day, you've got all that. Well, you might as well save everything you can under the battery, and then at night it powers your lights, it powers your heater, it powers whatever you need.
It just takes some planning and some absolutely.
So any situation you're in, you could find a way to make it work. Like even a terracotta pot and some Walmart tea candles. I mean, those things, the 3-hour candles, I was watching a report on it. They burn for 4. Lady had one burn